Hey guys, breaking down more baits and techniques, and today I'm going over the Ned Rig. So real quick, what is a Ned Rig? The Ned Rig is the king of simplicity. All it's going to be is a little mushroom head jig head like this one, normally either a 1/10 ounce or a 1/8 ounce. The majority of the time I use a 1/10 ounce, and then if there's a little bit of wind or I'm trying to get my bait a little bit deeper, I'll go up to the 1/8 ounce. And then with the soft plastic, you're just going to rig up a small little finesse soft plastic bait. The most important, or the most popular, the standard, the classic Ned Rig bait is a little TRD mini stick bait like this, but you can use other soft plastic baits. You can use little minnow baits like this one. You can use little crawfish like this one I have here. I actually love this one. The key though to picking out the soft plastic is you want it to be super simple. You don't want it to have a bunch of appendages. You don't want it to have a bunch of flapping or swimming action. The point of the Ned Rig is to be ultra simple, small, compact baits with very minimal action. That is the key to picking out the right bait. Why the Ned Rig works so well is that it just gives the bass zero reason not to eat it. It doesn't have the most action. It's not the most enticing. It's not drawing reaction strikes. It's just a tiny little, super simple, super easy meal for the bass. It's like a little chicken nugget you put right in front of the bass's face. There's no reason for it to say no. There's no reason for it to avoid it. It's too simple, too easy of a meal. That's why you can always get bites. Now, when are you going to fish a Ned Rig? So in terms of seasonality, it's a year-round bait. It'll catch bass all year round, 12 months out of the year. But the real situation or real use case for it is when the bite gets really tough, when the bass are really finicky and they don't seem to want to bite any of your normal, more reaction style baits. Maybe it's post-frontal, bluebird skies, no wind, the bite's just really tough. Maybe it's the dead of winter and it's really cold, the bass aren't that hungry. Or maybe there's just tons of guys fishing your lake or pond. The bass are seeing tons of traditional lures. That's when you go to a little Ned Rig, a tiny little finesse bait like this. You can still catch the finickiest bass that don't want to bite anything else on a Ned Rig. So when the bite gets tough all year round, that's when you tie on a Ned Rig. So where are you actually going to fish your Ned Rig once you're casting it out there? Where are you going to put it? First of all, it's definitely a shallow water technique, very lightweight jig head, lightweight technique. 1 to 5 foot of water is ideal. And then when it comes to the actual casting positioning, try to put it kind of near some cover. You're not actually casting into the cover because it's really lightweight, it's not weedless. You're going to snag and break off. But you want to make sure you put it in high percentage areas in the shallows where you kind of know or think bass probably are, because it's a very slow technique. You're not covering a lot of water. So if you're just casting out in the middle of nowhere, who knows if bass are there, you can waste a lot of time because it's going to take you a long time to retrieve this bait. So you want to kind of cast it, target-oriented stuff near some structure or near a ledge or a shallow flat where bass are cruising. There's high percentage areas in the shallows because it's a slow technique, so to really maximize success with it and be the most efficient, you want to limit your casting and your locations to where you already know bass are going to be holding. Now, how are you going to retrieve the Ned Rig? Again, super simple. You're going to cast it out there. Once it hits the water, let it slowly fall all the way to the bottom. Let it sit there for a couple seconds, and then just start slowly dragging it and shaking it with your rod tip position up. Really slow, really subtle and finesse. You don't want to be hopping it all over the place. You're imitating little crawfish, little goby. They don't really do that. They're always just going to be scooting along the bottom. So it's another reason I love the really lightweight jig heads, because they forced you to fish it really slow. If you're working your baits too fast on a lightweight jig head, it's going to pull it up in the water. You want to keep bottom contact, keep that jig head touching the bottom, and just slowly drag it and shake it. With the Ned Rig, there's almost no way to fish it too slow or too subtle, because simplicity is key again. The simpler, more natural you can make this bait look, the better. You can definitely fish it far too fast, getting it way up off the bottom, bouncing it, jerking it. You don't want to do that. Really slow, subtle. It can be a bit tedious at times. When the bite gets tough and the bass don't want to chase after baits, tedious is kind of inevitable. You're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to take it slow and really pick apart those areas. With the Ned Rig, fishing it slow, you're still going to catch some bass. Now, what kind of gear are you going to fish the Ned Rig on? It's going to be your standard finesse setup. I like a medium action spinning rod and then a 12 to 15 pound test braided main line to about an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. That's pretty much the finesse setup I run on just about all of my finesse baits, including the Ned Rig. Super simple. You don't need to overcomplicate things. Light fluorocarbon line, light braided mainline leader, and then just a spinning combo.